Here's our top story on WION Fineprint. A new and robust partnership is emerging, posing a formidable challenge to the West. As the conflict in Ukraine rages on, Russia has forged an even closer bond with a trio of nations: China, Iran and North Korea. Our special report decodes this axis of power that threatens to alter the delicate balance of international geopolitics.
While the West has rallied behind Ukraine, providing billions of dollars in military aid and imposing harsh sanctions on Russia, Moscow has found solace in the embrace of its eastern partners. China, Iran and North Korea are stepping up their support for Russia, providing crucial assistance in its war against Ukraine. The cooperation between these allies is multifaceted, encompassing military exercises, technology transfers and the exchange of critical resources. Beijing has announced joint naval and air exercises with Russia, demonstrating their increasingly coordinated military stance. The West says Iran has been supplying Russia with drones, ammunition and ballistic missiles, further fueling Moscow's ongoing military operations in Ukraine. Both the US and EU say Iran has delivered short-range ballistic missiles, including the Fath-30 to Russia. Tehran has refuted such reports. North Korea has been accused of providing over 2.5 million rounds of ammunition and contributing to Russia's military supply chain. China's role in this alignment is particularly significant. While it has refrained from delivering lethal aid, Beijing has been accused of offering technological support in the form of satellite imagery, machine tools and semiconductors, all critical to Russia's war effort. At the same time, China's growing imports of Russian oil and gas have helped buoy Moscow's economy, partially offsetting the impact of Western sanctions. So, what are these nations gaining from aiding Russia? China, for instance, could acquire advanced Russian submarine and missile technology, bolstering its capabilities in the Indo-Pacific region. North Korea is likely seeking to enhance its own military capacity through access to Russia's missile and space technology. For Iran, the partnership offers an opportunity to strengthen its regional influence and get help in missile technology. The deepening cooperation among these nations suggests a potential reconfiguration of international alliances, with ramifications that extend well beyond the current conflict in Ukraine. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And to give us some insights, we're being joined by Heino Klink from Washington, D.C. He's the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for East Asia. Mr. Klink, thank you so much for joining us here on WION.
Thank you.
What do you make of this new axis of powers, Russia, China, Iran and North Korea?
Well, I think it's obvious to most international observers that you have a number of pariah states that are banding together to mutually reinforce each other, not just diplomatically and politically, but economically and militarily as well. It appears as if Beijing, Pyongyang, and Tehran are now the arsenal of autocracy, providing Russia with the means to continue its war of aggression against Ukraine. Certainly destabilizing and certainly disconcerting for much of the world.
Mr. Clint, you've been implementing U.S. defense policy in more than 20 countries. Do you think Moscow has successfully been able to defy West sanctions by making new friends?
So I would say that these are not necessarily new friends. I think these are reinvigorated friendships. The Russian Federation has had close ties to Tehran, Beijing, and Pyongyang for a number of years. It's just now that they are expanding those ties. I think part of it is truly a sign of desperation that you find Russia now as the junior partner, certainly to China in its bilateral relationship, but it's also becoming more and more dependent on North Korean and Iranian-made military hardware. So I think the relationship between Russia and these countries has entered a new chapter, but the balance of power between Russia and these countries has certainly shifted from historical norms.
Right, Mr. Ding, speaking of this new chapter, I know you're calling them pariah states, arsenal of autocracy, but do you think West was naive to think that its doings in Ukraine, West Asia, and a trade war with China will have no consequences?
Well, I don't believe that that Western policies have led to the invasion of Ukraine. Let's remember the invasion of Ukraine actually started in 2014 when the Russians annexed Crimea and then continued in 2022 and continues to this day, obviously. So no, I don't believe that the enlargement of the European Union and even the enlargement of NATO serve as justifications for such military aggression. With respect to U.S. positioning in the Indo-Pacific, I would argue that the common denominator in countries, like-minded democratic countries, banding together, sits squarely in one capital. And it's not Washington, D.C. I wish we could take the credit for that, to be honest with you. It rests in Beijing under the leadership of Xi Jinping and its aggressive attitude toward all of its neighbors, whether it's in the East China Sea, the Taiwan Strait, the South China Sea, or frankly, the line of actual control. I think that countries are finding not just common democratic values, but also common national security interests and pushing back against Chinese adventurism.
All right, before I let you go, the establishment of the Axis powers back in the 1930s paved the war for the Second World War. Mr. Klink, are you worried about the future?
I'm worried that deterrence has been failing all over the world, whether it be the precipitous U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan that then, less than a year later, led to, or at least set a bad precedent and for deterrence vis-a-vis Russia and its invasion of Ukraine, followed by the horrible events of the 7th of October, and again, more and more Chinese assertiveness in the South China Sea. My fear is that deterrence is failing, and I'm not confident that that will bode for a particularly peaceful future.
All right, Mr. Kling, thank you so much for joining us here on WION and getting us your insights.
Thank you very much.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.